Tears of the Kingdom is the best game I have ever played. It's everything I could have asked for from a sequel to. Sorry, I just spotted a cave over there. I'll be right back. Sorry, where was I? Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if I can go back to Breath of the Wild now that Tears of the Kingdom is finally here, after all of these... Ooh, hold on, sorry, is that a shrine over there? Okay, alright, I'll just be a... Finally, I've made it. Don't worry, Zelda, I'm on my way. God, every time I try to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, I just keep getting distracted. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, why don't you just explain why you keep getting distracted? Oh yeah, and make a video out of it too, because, you know, free content.
You're right. All jokes aside, Nintendo has filled Tears of the Kingdom up to the brim with content. So much content, in fact, that I literally can't walk down a road for 5 minutes without discovering something cool. So, in this video, I thought I may as well explain one of the best aspects of Tears of the Kingdom, the side content. Apologies, this video isn't that initial impressions video I promised at the end of my final trailer breakdown, but that project went through so many rewrites I just decided to scrap it, because I wasn't really having fun with it. While I'm here apologizing, I may as well address the massive gap in content recently, especially considering that Tears of the Kingdom released well over a month ago now. The reason for this is, I actually can't stop playing Tears of the Kingdom. Seriously, this game has already destroyed what little social life I had left, to the point where playing other games makes me feel guilty, because I could be playing Tears of the Kingdom instead. Anyway, apologies out of the way. If you find yourself enjoying this video, remember to leave a like down below, and subscribe while you're down there if you feel like it. And make sure to let me know your thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom in the comments as well. With all that out of the way, let's get on to the video. Okay, so first up, let's look at the most obvious distraction in Tears of the Kingdom, the shrines. I want to start this section by saying how much of an improvement these shrines in this game are over the ones in Breath of the Wild. It's not like the ones in Breath of the Wild were bad, but by comparison, all the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are just better. On top of that, these shrines are actually really difficult. There are a couple of shrines that I've needed to leave behind, because I just couldn't work out how to solve them. One of the best things about these shrines is how the puzzles are almost completely open. Unlike Breath of the Wild, where there was only a handful of ways to solve a shrine's various puzzles, in Tears of the Kingdom, most puzzles can be solved in the weirdest ways. Shield surfing on rails, building things you aren't supposed to, or just straight up skipping things with rockets or bombs. Also, unlike the shrines in Breath of the Wild, the things you learn in the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom are actually used outside of the shrines themselves. Whereas in Breath of the Wild, the puzzles were fairly one-off experiences that you could barely replicate. The freedom these shrines offer is absolutely amazing, and I look forward to every single shrine that I enter. Except these ones. I don't really like those ones. Here we are, the part of the game that was advertised the most, the sky. The sky in Tears of the Kingdom is a blast to explore. There are lots of cool puzzles to complete, using vehicles to travel between the islands is always fun, and there's nothing quite like scouting a location on the surface from the sky before diving down to it. Let's talk about the puzzles for a second. Above every region you will find a floating archipelago of sky islands, each containing a gacha machine, vehicle parts, and a shrine. But the shrine is incomplete. You are tasked with locating the missing piece and returning it to its rightful spot, and this is where the fun begins. Using whatever you have at your disposal, you are required to follow the beam the shrine emits, and find a way to bring the crystal back to the shrine. Doing so will reward Link with, well, a shrine. This concept is so cool, and I'm glad it is utilized so much on these islands, and even down on the surface too. And the best part of it is that even if you mess up, you can just use recall or wait for the crystal to reset. There is no punishment except for time. Let's talk about the other sky islands quickly, because these shrine archipelagos aren't the only rocks hanging in the sky. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say as for the other islands, as they're usually quite small and don't have as much content, but they sure do have a nice view, and in a game as gorgeous as this, that's all I can really ask for. Now we return back to Hyrule's surface, where we see firsthand the damage the upheaval has caused across the kingdom. Chasms have opened up across the land, debris from the Sky Islands have fallen haphazardly everywhere, and earthquakes have uncovered caves scattered across the kingdom. These caves were one of the best things I discovered on my first playthrough. While appearing fairly visually uninteresting, these caves are far from that. The caves are placed all over Hyrule, some filled with monsters, some with ancient ruins, and many holding great rewards for the player if they can find them in these twisted underground labyrinths. The best comparison I can make when it comes to the caves in Tears of the Kingdom is that they're quite similar to the ones found in fellow open world masterpiece, Elden Ring. The caves in Tears of the Kingdom don't even hold a candle to the caves found in Elden Ring, but they do have something that Elden Ring doesn't. Bubble frogs. These little fellas are amazing. There is one bubble frog hidden in every single cave, sometimes in plain sight, although sometimes they take a bit of searching to find. These creatures clearly have some connection to Satori and the Bloopies, as they have similar patterns on their body and they attract Bloopies to their caves. Upon receiving an arrow to the face, these gentle creatures drop a bubble gem, which can be handed over to Kilton's brother Colton for powerful monster parts and unique armor. These caves are so common across Hyrule that early in a playthrough, I couldn't walk down a road for more than 5 minutes before encountering one. They were one of the things that, before launch, I was most excited to see, as we had seen hints of them in trailers, but exploring them? That was something else entirely. But, as I mentioned earlier, these aren't the only anomalies that the upheaval has caused, because Hyrule is also now home to giant chasms leading to... I am so glad that Nintendo decided not to show the depths in any major promotional material leading up to Tears of the Kingdom's release, as it is by far the biggest part of the game aside from the story that really caught me off guard. The first chasm I entered was the big one in Hyrule Field. After talking to the researchers nearby, I decided to dive down. After I jumped, I thought I would be taken to a relatively large cavern with a shrine if I was lucky. You can imagine my surprise when I discovered that underneath Hyrule this whole time lay an entire mirrored underworld, as vast as the surface above it. This whole area is amazing and equally as dangerous. Monsters who call this area home are covered in gloom, leading to the damage they cause being permanent when in the depths. Did I mention that the depths are also pitch black? Like, you literally can't see anything. Now, there are multiple solutions for this. Either you can find yourself the miner's armor, which illuminates your surroundings. You could constantly throw bright bloom seeds everywhere, or you could search for the distant orange glow of light roots. Let's talk about these for a minute. Light roots are essentially a cross between towers and shrines, acting as warp points and markers for important locations, as well as illuminating parts of the map when activated and brightening the surrounding area. But their use extends beyond that. These light roots appear to share some connection with shrines, as wherever you find a light root in the depths, there is almost always a shrine on the surface directly above it. Furthering this connection is the fact that the names of the light roots are identical to the respective shrine's name, but flipped. In fact, when comparing the depths and the surface, more than just the names have been flipped. The entirety of Hyrule's geography has literally been turned upside down, resulting in giant pits in the depths where mountains stand tall on the surface. Adding to this, it is always a good idea to search below important landmarks, as you will likely find something down there, if only a mine. The relationship between the depths and the surface is one that is deeply rooted in the gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom. I can't even tell you how many shrines and landmarks I found by exploring the depths. It is probably the most rewarding part of the game, at least in terms of physical items and gear. Now onto the final part of the video, the side quests. When I was saying that the depths were the most physically rewarding part of Tears of the Kingdom, I was telling the truth, but for me at least, the best rewards you can get in Tears of the Kingdom are the emotional reactions to the stories of side characters. One of my problems in Breath of the Wild was the lack of meaningful side quests, with really only one standing above the rest. I'll let you guess which one that was. When I arrived back in Tarrytown, I was expecting a large, fun side quest where I reunited with Hudson and the rest of the village and maybe expanded it a little bit. What I was greeted with instead was one of the most emotional moments I've had in a game. I won't spoil what this side quest is for those of you who still haven't done it, but if you know, you know. Out of all the things I was expecting from Tears of the Kingdom, these side quests were the one thing that I thought was going to stay mostly untouched. How wrong I was. All across Hyrule, there are so many stories to interact with, all of which make even Breath of the Wild's best quiver in fear. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these side quests are still pretty simple, but what they lack in complexity, they sure as hell make up for how they stick with the player even when the journey is long over. At the time of writing this script, I have just beaten Tears of the Kingdom, and I can say with the utmost confidence that it is the best game I've ever had the pleasure of playing. There is so much content to explore that sometimes I'm actually overwhelmed. Now that the main story is finished, I'm going to be spending the next, 100 hours exploring every nook and cranny the game has to offer. This video has been a long time in the making, and I apologize for not getting something out sooner, but if you've been playing Tears of the Kingdom at all, I'm sure you understand why I simply just cannot put the game down. In terms of future content, I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do next. I've got a couple of ideas, but for now, I think I'm going to take a bit of a break so I can focus on enjoying Tears of the Kingdom to its fullest. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and comment down below what your favorite part of Tears of the Kingdom was. That's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe and stay subscribed.